Now, we kick off with another story that has Kenyans' attention, and we may have to adjust your Easter plans with the latest news of fuel prices going up by nearly 10 shillings per litre. Super petrol rose to 144 shillings a litre in Nairobi, while diesel will now retail at 125 shillings and 50 cents. Kerosene users will buy a litre for 11 shillings and 44 cents, following the latest price increments by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The new prices will take effect beginning midnight tonight, and with the prices going up, concerns still linger over the availability of fuel, even as the government issued warning letters to 10 oil firms. Our very own Brenda Kirubo has been on that beat and now reports.
The fuel crisis is far from over, that is if the prices are anything to go by. From midnight, you will pay 144 shillings and 62 cents for super petrol, 125 shillings and 50 cents for diesel, and kerosene 113 shillings and 44 cents. The figures could have been higher if the government had not utilized the Petroleum Development Levy to cushion consumers. The actual calculated prices would have been 173 shillings and 70 cents for super petrol, 165 shillings and 74 cents for diesel, and 139 shillings and 89 cents for kerosene. The government has already paid oil marketers 34.6 billion shillings in fuel subsidy since October last year, but still owes them 14 billion shillings. Delayed subsidy payments led to an array of disagreements with oil marketers. This forced EPRA to take punitive actions after some were found to have exported above their limits. The regulator has already issued show cause letters to 10 oil firms.
Currently looking at the situation that has been obtaining for the last 4 weeks to actually investigate and to gather evidence around some of those malpractices, particularly around hoarding, also around not maintaining minimum operational stocks as required by law, and also selling beyond or above the maximum wholesale price. Anybody who is in the business of importation, exportation, wholesale, retail or supply of petroleum products in the country is required to be licensed by the authority.
We have not been subject to any shortages and disruption in our supply chains in regards to our petroleum products. Yet, arising out of speculation about whether, in fact, government could maintain the subsidy program and growing rumors about possibilities of price increase, we have been witness to actions that have distorted the market and our supply chains, actions that have created artificial shortages, actions that have caused panic and anxiety, negatively affecting productivity, and in some cases causing harm to Kenyans.
In a bid to deal with the shortages, oil marketers have been directed to redesignate part of their transit stocks currently stored within the Kenya Pipeline Company Limited system for consumption by the local market. The ones who sold above their normal local quota during the crisis period will benefit from additional capacity, while those who sold less will have their respective capacity reduced. Other measures include all fuel retailing outlets shall operate for 24 hours. The National Police Service will secure the provision of services within the fuel stations with a 24-hour surveillance.
And I think the experience of the last 2 weeks confirms yet again the importance of having a strategic institution that can secure and cushion this country. This is the rationale why we must refocus attention on NOC as the institution that will provide us that comfort. I therefore can confirm, even as we stand now before some of the ships dock, we have 18 days of super petrol reserves. We have more than 20 days of diesel reserves. We have 11 days of dual-purpose kerosene in reserve. So there is no cause for panic whatsoever.
With motorists still in search of fuel, many are hoping these latest directives will help ease the pain as many contemplate on their travel plans for Easter. Brenda Kirubo, KTN News.
Now, the name of Rubis Energy Kenya CEO Jean-Christian Begaron adds to the list of some high-profile people who have been deported from Kenya recently, But what can make a government whatsoever to deport a foreigner who has a work permit? Brenda Zeda Radido gives a breakdown on what the government looks at before issuing deportation orders.
CEO Jean Christian has paid the highest price in the government's decision to crack the whip on oil marketers who have been accused of hoarding fuel and stifling the economy. The deportation of Jean without a chance to defend himself in a court of law raises questions as to what can make a government deport a foreigner without a right of reply.
There is no update. The CEO Ruby departed the country last night.
The Petroleum Agency has written to the minister and advised that these people are complicit. Now the minister then would of course consult the minister in charge of immigration, who would then enforce the order.
According to migration expert George Mushe, when a foreigner comes into the country to work and does anything contrary to the terms of reference, then the government has the right to issue an order of deportation without issuing notice.
I would imagine by the time they decide to deport you, they have also looked into the permit and cancelled. And those reasons would probably be in the deportation order, where they would say the above stated person who is a holder of this passport and this permit is in breach of whatever they are talking about, and their permit has been cancelled and the government orders them to be deported.
But before an order is issued, the Secretary of State, in this case, Interior Cabinet Secretary, who is empowered by the law, looks at whether the issue of public interest and whether various government agencies were informed of the conduct of the culprit. Since deportation, in most cases, is never a voluntary process, a chance to challenge the deportation order is usually given to an individual.
The Fair Administrative Action Act says that when a government agency or a government bureaucrat makes a decision, they must do so fairly. And the right of natural justice, the right to be heard. The other person has to be heard.
Cancellation of the work permit is also done. But in case an individual wants to come back to the country, the person has to apply for a prohibited immigrant pass.
Come back, but you have to apply. The minister has to review. Then they can say, okay, we will allow you to come in for 2 days, for 10 days or whatever days, to come and clear your things. And they will issue you with a pass.